Now, here's a ray of hope for all the men around the world who might be worried about aging and an expanding waistline. A new book written by a respectable professor from Yale University in the US says that older, overweight men actually live longer and are more attractive to women. Well, so how is that possible? Let's speak to the professor in question. Richard Bribiescus teaches anthropology, ecology and evolutionary biology at Yale University. His new book is called How Men Age: What Evolution Reveals About Male Health and Mortality. And joining us from South Carolina is Mackenzie Pearson, the girl whose essay on why girls love chubby men or dad bods went viral around the world last year. Thank you both for joining us. Professor, I'll come to you first. How did you come to this conclusion?
Well, thank you for having me. This idea came to me as I was doing the research on this book on how men age. And one of the things that I noticed throughout my years of research is that there are many similarities between how hormones and body changes that occur in new fathers are similar in older men. And it seems to provide some evolutionary explanation as to why older men are still able to reproduce as they get older, and perhaps explain some of the traits that are unique to humans. So in some ways it's sort of meshing what we know about changes in testosterone and body composition with our understanding of how men age.
Mackenzie, you very much support this theory.
Yes, thank you so much for having me as well. Yeah, I do. I think that it's something that's natural to men. I think that, you know, developing that body, developing that shape, you know, life changes. And I think that your body is made naturally to change with life. And so, yeah, absolutely.
Well, what is it about chubbier men that you find attractive?
Well, I think that it's just something to me that's more appealing. I think that it varies from woman to woman, absolutely. And I think that there's something about that natural sort of chubbier or rounder shape that isn't necessarily overwhelming. It shows a little bit more balance, I think. And like, I think too, as a woman, probably naturally, evolutionarily, we're attracted to people that look fatherly, especially as a woman. And, you know, wanting to be domestic and wanting to be a mother someday, I think that that's an attractive physique because it's something that you're naturally just drawn to.
Professor, I mean, I find it interesting because increasingly we're being told to be healthier. We see images of celebrities and people who are very health conscious, you know, talking about slimming down even as you get older. So does this kind of go contrary to what's being sold out there?
Well, I think it's important to understand that this type of research has to be put in context. So certainly I'm not trying to make the case that people should become obese or overweight, because clearly that's not good for your health. But what we need to understand is that there are differences between various cultures, and not everybody lives in Western industrialized societies. So in places that are energetically stressed, it's actually a little bit attractive and a little bit healthier for them to put on a little bit of fat to get them through those lean times. And if they're able to survive during those lean times, they're able to support and take care of their children. In the U.S., we're sort of obsessed with this muscular body, and there's a lot to be said to that, and it's easier to do when you're younger. But unfortunately, as you get older, your body does change, and your behavior, your reproductive strategies need to adjust with time.
Mackenzie, I was reading an interesting list that you'd made. You know, chubbier men are easier to cuddle, they keep you warmer. Tell me a little bit about that list.
So the list was originally actually written with the intention of being a satirical piece. And I feel like it is important to point out that it's not made to endorse unhealthy living habits. It's not made to endorse obesity or anything like that, but it is kind of that slightly different sort of shape. And I suppose for me, being in college, being a university student, I see that a lot more because men aren't, even in their 20s, they aren't perfectly sculpted, a majority of them. And so a lot of my friends have this body type, and my friends and I thought it would be funny to name it and label it and describe it. And so ultimately the list was born out of that, and from there grew. And I think a lot of people really just kind of enjoyed reading that because, like he said too, in the U.S. we are so obsessed with that six-pack and an overly fit sort of physique, and that's not what the average male has.
And Professor, I mean, this study and your book looks at men, but what about women? Because women obviously, are, as they age and after childbirth and things like that, also put on weight and carry that in their life.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because research that's not my own personal research, but from my colleagues have shown that body shape, the amount of body fat a woman carries, what's considered to be attractive really does vary from culture to culture. And in some cultures, it's okay and actually desirable to have a few more pounds than perhaps what we're used to here in the United States.
Professor Mackenzie, thanks so much for joining us here on the program.